Hey everyone, welcome to That Little Podcast, episode 80. This week, of course, we were going to go live, but Colin was having some issues with his house, so he couldn't make it. We decided that we're going to record and just put something out normally. Probably the 82nd episode will be live, or we'll wait till 90. But in the meantime, let's get into it, guys. You know how people are talking about how Mutant Mayhem is so successful, but it's also considering in all the NECA sales, the toy sales, everything not related to Mutant Mayhem is being lumped into the success of this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's an awful lot of merchandise out, and it's mimicking the older stuff, and so
Yes.
parents are buying it for
For
their
nostalgia.
kids.
Right. And it's $10. I understand. And that's the thing too. You look at every other toy out there, this turtle line for the Mutant Mayhem, that figures are $10, the base
Yep.
figures. So if you
Dude, and
just
even the play
Walmart,
sets, because like I told you today, the turtle van, which is huge,
yeah.
is $33. I mean, that's a steal, and it comes with all this stuff in it. I was like, you know,
Well, and what's crazy is that like Walmart for the last for the month like a month and a half leading up to the movie, they had a whole just like a
Display.
whole that was just devoted to, hey, here's all the Mutant Mayhem stuff. And so I mean they've definitely been pushing the merchandising side,
yep.
which
Well,
I
people
mean
have been
is
finding the
smart.
2 packs for the turtles. I mean, for the movie, the first movie, they've been
Yeah.
finding other stuff at Walmart. If you go to Target, there's a specific section that is literally an end cap and 2 sides of the aisle that are set up to be Mutant Mayhem, the NECA cartoon, the Mirage comic stuff, and the original vintage figures and some other stuff. So it's like,
Yeah, they're all lumped in, but the NECA, every Target I've gone into, you have that end cap, and then you have these 2 sides on either, and then there is a uh that standalone out in front of it. That is where you find the NECA stuff.
yeah,
The It's not on that end cap, it's not on the other. You'll have Mayhem on one side, you'll have classic Turtles on the other, and then whatever is special, like the games, the Legos and all that other stuff on the end cap. But if you really want to see if you can find like the Shredder, the Ultimate Foot Soldier, the
April,
Tricer
Lucky.
April, any of those, that's going to be in that one standalone area right there. And I've watched people walk around looking. Oh, I guess they don't have anything, and it's like right there. And I go, oh, oh, let me help you. That's right there.
It's right there. Yeah. Well, because they have what is it? The section in uh the media section that is literally the I forgot what it's because it's not called like a toy section. It's listed as something different.
It's a collectible. It's
Collectible. Yeah, it's
collectibles.
a
That's
collectible
what they
section.
call it.
Because remember, Toys R Us is one of the first places that started it. Then Target, then Walmart started following that back in the day.
Don't sorry, excuse me. Don't forget, Best Buy was doing it about the same time Toys R Us was doing it,
Yeah. Um,
long before Target ever started doing it.
but there's definitely some really good stuff, and I'm glad that as much as I may not enjoy going to see that movie at all, considering the fact that like literally they don't learn martial arts from Master Splinter. I mean, like it defeats the purpose of them even having Master Splinter. You could have just had it to where they were just 4 brothers who just roamed around after they got hit with the mutagen, and they had to steal stuff, or
Why?
take
Here,
broken
wait.
things.
Hey, no, it's Jackie Chan doing the voice of Splinter, and you don't have him teaching them martial arts.
Correct.
The funny thing I heard somebody said that it's the Ninja Turtles, which is Japanese, being taught by Jackie Chan, who is Chinese, and they're learning it watching kung fu movies. So it's like, how are you learning ninjutsu by watching it?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah.
If I'm watching Bruce Lee's Fist of Legend, I'm not learning sneaking technique. I'm not learning ninja,
Well,
right? The closest
maybe. if you watch Enter the Dragon, because I mean, there's that whole scene where Bruce is
Eh,
sneaking around.
Yeah,
Sure,
but Bruce always used his own fighting style,
Yes, he
Jet
did.
Kundo.
but
So,
wouldn't they
which
all
was
be
a hybrid of all
equals?
of them. He borrowed from every one of the disciplines.
Right,
That's
but
what made
wouldn't
him hard
all
to
the
fight.
turtles be using nunchucks at that point? Like, wouldn't they just all be Mikey if they were learning from Bruce Lee movies? They would just
Yeah,
all
Oh
have
yeah, oh
nunchucks.
yeah. Well, I mean, no. If you watch Game of Death, he used the pole staff. He used the sword. He used the nunchuck. I forget what else he used.
Well, I mean,
He used his body against Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
well, you could have had it to where you literally could have had it to where maybe each of the turtles had a favorite martial artist. So, like, one was, Tony Jaa, another one was Jet Li, and another one was maybe let's see who else. Chuck Norris.
Tony Jaa would clearly be Raph, right? Because he wants the elbow, he wants that Muay Thai,
It's
right?
the Muay Thai and it kickboxing. They the they you work up the forearm muscles, the elbow, and the shins by hitting it a hard target. But the problem with that is because of we only have so much bone, and it every 10 years it completely grows itself. So we're always only about our bones are only about 10 years old. But when you do that up front and you do that in here, you take that bone from somewhere else. That's why kickboxers can, if they're kicked in the back of the leg or at an angle, you'll see their leg just snap like a rubber band, man. It will,
Yeah.
um,
Let's hear it. Mikey would probably be like drunken style, but instead of being drunk, right, he'd just like be eating pizza or whatever.
You know what? Actually, he was. Let me see. Mikey would have been Jean Claude Van Damme. All those movies. The goofiness. Maybe he watched Kickboxer and Bloodsport a little bit. So there you go. That's
I
Mikey.
guess, I guess I don't attribute, you know, Goofy other than just the sheer absurdity of those movies to JDBC. But let's see here. What
I
Leo
could
Leo
not.
Leo I think would be straight Jeet Kundo, right? He would definitely be Bruce Lee. He would like the focus that Bruce brings, right? I'm having trouble placing Donnie though.
Yeah, because like I'm trying to think of like yeah, he's skilled with the bow staff, but the thing is that he's also a techie. So it's like, well, what did he watch?
Uh,
He watched
Jet Li.
MacGyver. He watched MacGyver is one of the things maybe.
Right? He got a double feature of like some Jet Li movie and like what no, because Hero he's using a sword. Shit. Was it in one of the
Oh, what's his name? Donnie
China?
Yen.
Donnie
It
Yen.
could
Yeah,
be. It could be Donnie Yen.
yeah.
Yeah.
That would, you know.
From God dang it, what's the Iron Monkey, right? Is that the one where he fights with the umbrella?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so there you go. Yeah. So Donnie likes himself some Donnie
Yeah,
because he's simple like that. It's fine.
so Leo would be who?
And the thing is that ninjas weren't ninjas. America made ninjas wearing the black outfits, running around with their sword, jumping, and all that other stuff. And then Asian art copied what we perceive as ninjas, because ninjas were the guys who were farmers. They worked and they infiltrated and they watched and they spied and then would poison you, kill you, do all these different things.
What's the
Uh,
weapon? Oh, the sickle. Like it's not kunai because kunai's the. But yeah, yeah. All the implements of the ninja is like farmer's tools.
farmer tools, yeah.
Because the kunai was basically just a spade, right? That they used to carve out, and they could just
Uh,
take that. That's what they would like throw and try and stab you with, and all the rest of that. So yeah, no, I believe it.
Well, yeah, because
Um,
that's one of the cool things about like the Real American Hero GI Joe comic and the Marvel that Larry Hama was doing is that like Storm Shadow was white, because his gi was white. Even like the Hardmaster, and the other ninjas, they didn't wear full on just dark colors. It was Snake Eyes, the foreigner, that wore the black gi.
So so you're saying the weeb is the one that got it wrong?
Yes, there you go. That's the whole thing. He's wearing what he thinks. Maybe it's because he watched American Ninja, which is, in my eyes and my dad's eyes, the closest we're
Yeah,
going
that was
to get to
that
a
was the
Snake
closest
Ninja.
you're ever going to get a good Snake Eyes until somebody gets their head out of their behind and gives us
I
one.
mean, you even get Stalker. Come on, but no. I mean, none of us have seen it. I want to see. I want to take Edward, but I'm not going to go take it to the theaters. I'm going to wait until it's digital. I'll probably go
You,
ahead and
you
rent
could
it.
you could go to a matinee. It's $5. What you spend $10 for the both of you, and he gets to experience it on the big screen like it was meant to. It's already made money, so you're not going to be contributing to a bad film, you know, and give it a chance. I can't. There have been tons of movies that I just didn't want to give a chance, and then I watch it and like, well, there's some redeeming things in it. I kind of liked it,
Well, it's
you know.
at least it's not Michael Bay movies. Okay, that's fine. We're good.
Not 30 foot tall and built
Yeah,
like yeah,
You
no,
know,
like
like they
I
came
was
out of Gears of War. You know, they're ready to go run around, hide behind chest high walls, shooting lancers at other weapons at other Foot Clan and weird mutants.
I had debated originally taking the kids to it. And I even asked them because it was like I had free Cinemark points or whatever to go spend on it. I was like, hey, do y'all want to go see the Ninja Turtles? And then both of them were like, no, we're good. I was like, all right, whatever, fine then. Not gonna take y'all to that. And then instead, the wife took the daughter off to see Barbie. So now they're all anti-man, so it's fine.
Okay, did you see the meme though? I sent you guys in the our group.
yeah, yeah.
There's like, hey Barbie, let's go party, and they go to
No.
Texas and they're melting.
The absolute funniest one that I saw, and it came out before the movie, was someone took the scene from Jojo Rabbit where they're all like, they're doing the Heil stuff, right? And
Yeah.
so it starts off with Barbie. It's like, hi Barbie, hi Barbie, hi Barbie, hi Barbie, hi Barbie, and then it immediately hard cuts into the Nazis. It's like,
Nazis.
it's like this is y'all and then on the bottom it just said same energy. It was like, yeah, yeah. It was like
My favorite was Spock in a giant Barbie box and Kirk on his knees and they're touching each other through the clear plastic and it's the whole scene from The Wrath of Khan. I was dying.
Well, somebody took a Duke head and put it on a gung ho body of the O-ring figure and made it look like Ken from the movie.
If we're going to stay on this topic, I'm going to start talking. And I know there's certain things you don't want me to talk about. So let's go figure out something other than Barbie to talk
Don't move
about.
away from Barbie. We've already talked about it last episode, but in that instance, we do want to talk about what's going on with Ahsoka. Even though I haven't watched it yet, I did watch the recap. I'm waiting, like you said. I'm going to wait till everything's out. Wait till everything's out. I'll binge all of it, and then
There's two guys that I watch on a regular basis. Both of them are like so steeped in Star Wars lore, and every time they can watch something and tell you where every scene comes from, what a picture is, what a badge is, all this stuff. And so I trust them. And both of them did their what the hell video, and I posted only one of them for you guys to watch. Doesn't really tell you anything, but the fact that both episodes are just the last episode of Rebels
yeah,
with stuff filled in,
yeah, and
it
it's
just
also
drives me crazy.
right connections to the last season of Clone Wars. It's like
Yeah,
and then they took scenes out of other points in the Star Wars lexicon. So it's like, what are you doing? You can't come up with something new. You have to do the eye candy to pull people
well,
in.
no, they've got to make you connect to it so that when they hit you with the fact that Ezra's going to be a bad guy and Sabine's going to be the ultimate. Now, Sabine has never had any connection to the Force. Even when they were trying to train her, Ezra and Keenan were trying to train her with the black saber. They both were like looking and they were like, no, she has no connection to the Force. So what do they do in this series? She gets okay. why is it that women can get stabbed in the center of their body by
No,
a long,
she
hard,
got stabbed
phallic symbol? Okay.
just under her lung.
Okay.
I did look at that.
And they still come back.
Yes.
Well,
They did it in Obi-Wan Kenobi. They did it into this. They've done it in several other books. Okay, I'm sorry, but that's like they just bitch slapped Qui-Gon Jinn. It's like, you ain't no Jedi.
It's one of two things. It's one of two things, right? Either Qui-Gon Jinn was just a humongous bitch, or Darth Maul is the only person that's mastered stab in the torso, which has all your vital organs minus like your brain, right? Like the one spot that's just filled to the brim with all kinds of fun crap. Like somehow no one's able to make this kill shot with a sword that should cut through you like button. Like in this one, when she stabs her through the chest, like whenever I see that, when I see the stab through the chest with Maul, it made sense because he went right center. It's like you're done. That's your heart. Like
you saw it come all the way out through him, out his back.
Vertebrae, everything.
Well, like especially with this one in this show, when it's like it's down over here, I'm like, you know what you should actually do instead of like in and out, it's in and then through the side, right? It's like just take
it doesn't matter. If you go through here, you're hitting the spleen, you're hitting the pancreas, you're going through the lungs, the liver. You've killed them. I'm sorry. I mean, but it's like these Jedi are the stormtroopers of the future because they couldn't even kill the Inquisitor. Yeah. I mean, it's just like every great hunter, you keep missing the target.
That's what that's going to turn out to be. The masked up person. That's Ezra, right?
That's Ezra. Yeah, he's going to be the bad guy, and he's going to be. Yeah. It's going to be because of the witches. So
Night Sisters.
You got it. You can't have Ahsoka fighting another evil woman. You got to turn the only powerful Jedi into a bad guy.
I will say
I did like the whole idea of the Ray Stevens, and
he was by far the best part of these first two episodes. His presence in every single scene that he's in, he just feels like a badass.
It just kills me that it's like being reminded of The Crow and Brandon Lee, that this was going to be his big breakout thing.
His swan song that moved him into the stratosphere of being able to get other roles and other things. And he, died in his prime, before he got a chance to live out those next 10, 15 years of acting.
And at least they're going to talk about the bleeding of the kyber crystals, the reason why lightsabers can be orange. They're not Sith, they're not dark Jedi. They're people who accept that they have dark Jedi tendencies, but they slightly, because kyber crystals now are living entities. And if you torture them, you can make them bleed. And if you really hurt them, you can turn them red. Even Mace Windu, how he got purple was through making his blade bleed. So, that's a thing now.
Yeah, but that's still a change because originally it was you had to find that crystal.
No, you're right. Originally it was you had to go find a colored crystal.
Yeah.
Now they're all white. They're white, and then you change it.
And when you went there to the planet, it
called you. The crystal called you.
Crystal, I know. For you. And
but I think that all got blown away when the fact that Anakin kept getting his sabers destroyed, and they were just throwing him new ones. So none of those sabers called to him, and that's why this is your father's lightsaber. No, that wasn't. It was somebody handed him that damn saber. His got cut in half years ago. So that
we know he's had three lightsabers.
Anakin.
Yeah, Anakin had at least 3 lightsabers besides the 2 that were handed to him.
Yeah, they make a point of commenting on it in the third movie.
Yeah.
Try not to lose this one. Try not to destroy this one. That tells you he he pretty much destroyed a lot of
He was
lightsabers.
careless. I mean, you think about it. He was already
And it makes you wonder, was he even in contact with his lightsabers? Because a Jedi is synced with their saber, and the more synced they are with it, the greater their ability in its use. That's why Luke was awkward with his
his father's.
supposedly Anakin's.
Yeah.
But once he created his own green, that was him. That was in tune with him. That was his crystal, you know. And then now in the lore, he actually got a crystal from that he found in Obi-Wan and tried to bleed it because he learned from a Sith's holocron how you could do that, and he created this dagger so you could Florentine with lightsabers. Yeah, remember when you had to use lightsabers with both hands, and the only reason you could use one hand was if you had a robot hand. Yeah, that's all gone out the window.
Unless you were Count Dooku, because
Count Dooku was just a badass.
But
Count Dooku should have won. He should have been the hero because all he wanted was a balance. He really wasn't a Sith. His eyes never became yellow, and his whole goal was to usurp Palpatine's power.
But remember, that's the thing, though. Dooku was a dark Jedi. He wasn't a Sith.
He wasn't a Sith. That's right.
And that's the thing, is that we've moved away from the whole thing of that there's Sith and then there's dark Jedis, which are two different factions. That's why Anakin turned and his eyes turned Sith color, because you got to think Palpatine's been giving him training and knowledge of being a Sith without him knowing. So he was already entwined with that whenever he turned to the dark side full. And it's sad because with what frickin' Filoni said, I mean, that
don't bring him up. What a traitor!
Luke,
I was right when I said he had sold his soul to get. He wanted a movie, an actual film, to be able to prove he was more than just an animated director. And they said, "Yep, yeah, we'll give you your chance. We're going to give you your own movie. Just sign this little signature right here in blood."
But we're never going to get Luke the way he should be. Nope. The way that we had for 20 years in the books and in the games and things. Never going to get it. Because
and most people, sorry, go ahead.
Luke is the enemy. And it's like, that's why when they wrote,
men are the enemy in this new mythology. The Force is a woman. That's why when women are Jedis, they're more powerful than men. And men usually try to force the Force to bend to their will. And men are more naturally in tune with the dark side or dark Jedis. And I'm like, bullshit, And we've seen it in every movie that was tainted by her. It's Willow. It was Indiana Jones. It's in other movies. We saw it bleeding. It took over Disney. We saw it bleeding into their other franchises and stuff. And they could be brought down by it. And that's just, that proves the system works, because if you produce garbage and nobody goes to see it, you don't deserve to be in business.
Well, yeah. That's one of those things. You think about the fact that what is the messaging there? So you're making it to where little boys that grow up, that they're evil. You're literally telling a child that looks up to anything that could be related to him or her, it's going to be with this certain messaging. And instead of it building on their imagination, building on the foundation of who they become, because maybe they idolize that character, that's the thing that helps them springboard into, their adulthood or teenage years, because they experiment, they use the things they've learned as growing up as adolescents into teenagers, into adulthood, by these stories, the parables, the things that we tell. And it's sad when now we're destroying all of them. For what?
I'm gonna post something after I finish writing it, and let you guys read it. But it talks about how Filoni was talking about the fact that we've had for decades stories from the male perspective and how disheartening and damaging that was to young girls. And there's nothing wrong with the pendulum swinging back the opposite direction. And I was, as I was listening to him talk, I was like, I remember you talking like this in 2016 when you were still working on Rebels, and everybody was like, "Oh, it's just him trying to promote that they were gonna Rebels was not just about the guys, they had really strong characters in it." But I truly believe now that that's his way of thinking. Um, and when you go back and after you listen to him talk and you go back and you watch shows, you can see why certain things happen the way they did. You know,
So in that same breath, though, Dad, it's like, did he not watch Aliens or Alien? Did he?
I don't think I don't think Filoni is an Aliens fan. That's not doesn't seem to be
He's
his
not a
type of movie.
connoisseur of other media where there are strong women that like Laura Croft and let's see, Tara from Final Fantasy VI.
Oh, you want to talk about that? The entire 1980s was strong-willed women taking on serial killers.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people that just kind of like turn away from that because like you know name one that's not name one that's not from a horror franchise, right? Like, okay, Laura Croft, that's a video game, but she's also heavily sexualized, right? Which Ripley and them weren't. So name one that again, because like you start thinking about it, it's like Buffy. No, that's horror, right? You know, I don't know. I was listening to some people debate about that the other day, and it was actually kind of an interesting point. One of the guys was trying to basically make the argument something along the lines of how with horror it it lends itself more to allowing kind of the female presence in it, and because of the natural desire for like men to not see women come to harm, that's what created the
Oh,
entire
you got
concept of Final
Cold
Girl.
Mount. You got Cold Mountain, which is about two women surviving after the Civil War while their husband and uh, the the main character is off fighting the Civil War. Then when the war ends, he's trying to make his way back home, and all his story was just trying to get out of the horror of war. And then it showed them fighting off everybody who wanted their land, wanted to abuse them, and everything else. Those were strong charactered women. There are movies. There are a lot of legal movies where it's a female attorney who puts a man in his place in the court of law. There are movies out there for it.
Right,
You
but
know,
but in fairness, we just went from quoting names to quoting, yeah, Cole Mount, but like a character. So like one that comes to mind right now, and maybe it's because I saw the daughter was watching The Simpsons, and I saw the Simpsons episode of it. But Xena, right? Xena was a strong
yep.
female character around, kicking ass and taking names, right? She was basically
Yeah.
right.
Wonder
So yeah,
Woman, Wonder Woman,
that kind of deal, right?
Bionic Woman. Um,
So I mean, yeah, these characters have definitely existed for a long time. It's just like for whatever reason, they don't seem to take a lot of prominence in a lot of people's minds. And it's like, you know, we've kind of talked about it before. It's great if you want to write positive female characters. The problem comes in when it's at the expense of the male characters in the room, right? When every single female character is the smartest, the strongest, the bestest at absolutely everything, and all the male characters are a bunch of bumbling, fumbling, drooling, knuckle dragging idiots, then you're actually denigrating the female character themselves because it's like, okay, well, yeah, clearly she's the one who's going to be able to go do everything because everyone else around them is an idiot. Whereas if everyone was on the same playing field, it would be more impressive, right? That's part of the reason why Leia is so impressive as she is, because around her was Luke and Han, and she still held her own,
held her own
right?
and rebuilt the entire republic.
Right.
Her and Mothma rebuilt everything that was destroyed by the Emperor. There's stories there that could have been told. There are books that are like Leia had a like a nanny that watched over
Yeah,
her, and in
she's
the
awesome.
books,
Yep.
she was
One of
like
the coolest
a
characters.
badass character,
Yeah.
and whenever something needed to be done, she was the one, and you needed it done stealthily, quickly, and if you needed somebody assassinated, you
Can't
sent
remember her
her
name at the
in.
moment, but yeah. But that's the thing is like it's these characters, that's the problem with the sequel trilogy is you had these characters elevated beyond the status that they started at. They had sacrifice, they had loss, trauma, things that really affected them. They had growth. And that's why we love these characters, that's why it was believable that Leia learned to love Han, that Luke went from being a farm boy that had dreams and aspirations beyond his uncle's farm, and then eventually met his father, had to confront him, and became a Jedi. And instead of falling down the path that his dad did, at a moment of his weakness of going full at him and realizing that if he continues and kills his father, he is going to fulfill the destiny that the Emperor set for him. And he was able to stop it. And at that moment, because that happened, it also freed Vader, Anakin, from the Emperor's hold. And he was able to save his son. And in doing so, at the cost of his life. So you take these characters that grow and had been elevated to a better plane of existence for their lives, and they had a chance to rebuild the republic, have kids, find love interests, have friends that transcended what they were on screen. To all right, we're gonna do Luke as Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's a hermit on a planet. Because we can't tell better stories.
Well, hold on. What Disney does, and there's 2 points. That what isn't Disney does is it takes characters and buys up franchises, and where those characters have been progressing, and when we last see them, they're at a pinnacle in their life. And then when we're reintroduced to them, they're at the bottom. They're bums. They're burnouts. They've gone back to whatever they were at the beginning, and it's happened in a lot of their movies. The other thing is that people go, oh, well, we needed to move away from Luke Skywalker. Okay, we did that. The books were not all about Luke. The Jedi stories weren't about Luke. Luke built the Jedi Temple, and he went on adventures to find the artifacts and the stuff to help him teach his students. But the majority of the Jedi books were about his students and what they went on to become. And they were eclectic mix of alien species. There was a Wookiee Jedi. There was even a Tusken Raider Jedi. And there were Han Solo's 2 children, Jace and Jacin. All their kids, Mara Jade. There were all these strong characters. The books where Luke was prominent were Luke-centric books. But the Young Jedi and then the other older Jedi books, those were about what was Luke's legacy, what he brought back he did. And the fact that he threw out the dogma. Like when a religion becomes too dogmatic and it becomes more about itself than what it it's the how it affects and improves people's lives, then that religion is bad. And so Luke realized that, and he didn't have all that years of dogma, and he approached it how he lived his life. And that was as an optimist. That was as I've got to do whatever I have to do. This is the guy who could have stayed and completed his training, but he would have left Leia and Han to the whims of Vader and let them die. Where you had Obi-Wan and you had Yoda telling him, don't go. Let him sacrifice himself. You're more important. Luke was like, no, I'm not.
They're important. Just as important.
They're important. Yeah. And I've been reading up on the different scripts that were written for Prometheus and for Covenant, right? And because those two movies really still burn me as because we could have had such a great fifth film with what's his name,
Neil Blomkamp and
in Blumenkamp, and now Blumenkamp won't even touch it. They invited him to come back and make it, and he was like, "I'm done." That moment is gone.
well, yeah, because you think about it, Michael Bean's too old, Sigourney Weaver's too old. It was the perfect time at that point when he could have made that it would have worked. Getting Rebecca, I remember her last name, but the one who played Newt,
Yeah, to come back.
come back. You know, you had Lance Henriksen coming back, and he's older than all of them. We're well past that. The only thing we can get is maybe an audio drama, like we did.
I don't even think we're going to get that. And you had Ridley Scott, who in his life was never really proud of Aliens. He was because of the accolades it brought to him, but that if you look at every other movie he's ever made, it's not really his style of film. And so he, at his age now, is wanting to explore religion, immortality, creator, a lot of the elements that were explored in Blade Runner that Philip Dick was looking at. And so that's what he turned it to. But there were two scripts that could have been the that transition to the from the past to the future, and it kept them alien instead of making it God creates man, man plays God, creates an android, android kills man, and creates an alien species. It still was men, and it goes all the way back to Walter Hill. Is it Walter Hill? Who is the guy who did Southern Comfort and 48 Hours and all those other men? I can't remember his name. He was the guy who was going to direct Alien in the beginning. And he didn't like the fact it was an alien species. He wanted it to be that they found this planet where they had been doing biological weapons that created something and it wiped everybody out. And it was something we made. Well, Ridley went right back to that. Why is it we can't have just an alien movie where they genetically are different than us? They were created different, from whatever the reason was. I love the original concept of this being a race that is violent when they're young. As they mature, they shed that violence, become intelligent, and then wear robes. And the only problem is that through their manipulation of their own DNA, they made it where they couldn't procreate without an outside body. So the whole idea of the facehugger, the jars, and somebody would be placed, sacrificed for that, and then it would become the alien. It would be left out into the world until it matured, and then it would slowly come back in and join the society, and the whole cycle would start over. And that was something that was explored in the Capac series of Edgar Rice Burroughs with the Capac, the Copernicus, the island where the dinosaurs. As you go, and when you first enter the island, everything is very primitive, the dinosaurs. But as you went and followed the rivers further in, everything became intelligent until you reach a group of people who live in a flying city. And if you survived all that, you would continue to evolve until you became one of those members. So, it's not like it hasn't been explored in literature before. And it worked fine then. Why not now? Why does it always have to be that we create our own destruction? I mean, we already know that's reality.
Well,
because man is the real enemy. He always is, no matter what.
Well, because that's the thing is we think that, and that this goes back to the whole religion thing, is that we are born with sin, and that we create our own things instead of learning to not do those things because we need to, not because it's our way into eternal life after we die. It's just a way of changing how you think and stuff. But
I mean, it's like with any kind of monster movie, right? It's the monsters are more interesting when they have like that's what Guillermo del Toro is so amazing about, right? And that's why the monsters that are in his movies are so cool, is because he fully thinks through like their origin, where they live, where they come from, all this stuff, so that he builds them up and puts like moss on their shells and things in certain ways because that's how they lay out and sleep and all this stuff. And it's like when the monster is not man and it's just a monster, and those monsters have a history and a backstory to them and something more interesting, right? Because when it always comes back to, well, men created it. Like I get it back in what the like
In the 50s, when it was all about the atomic age, when
yeah,
every
yeah,
monster was man-made.
yeah, yeah. The first time that happened, I'm sure it blew everyone's mind. But at this point, it's like we get it. Okay, people suck. People do bad things. Fantastic. Can we go back to telling cool stories about weird cosmic shit that exists out there that we have no fundamental understanding of? And it's so vastly alien to us that there's no way for us to comprehend it. And we still have to figure out some way of putting it down.
and
Like that's so much more interesting than just always falling back to, oh yeah, this evil corporation was dumping a bunch of goo into this pond and it spawned some giant fish creature thing that now we got to go deal with. It's like, oh man, I haven't seen this movie in the last 15 minutes before, I guess. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
I love Guillermo because he's a world builder. Before one script is written, one uh, piece of footage, film is used, he's already mapped it out. He's built a Bible. He's drawn these wonderful sketches, and works with people to have everything that makes that world work, all the laws of it there. And so then he translates that into our world. And then that's where he finds his conflict and all those other things. And we just don't have enough directors like him anymore.
No, we do, but we don't not enough that the studios are willing to take the risk to allow them.
No, everybody's risk averse now.
Well, yeah. And then what was it? I was just watching Menti. He did was it the top 10 things you didn't know about Beverly Hills Cop 2? And what was it? I didn't realize that the director who did Top Gun was the director who did the second movie. And originally the movie was filmed serious. There was like not enough comedy in it. They had to go back and reshoot.
Wait a minute. It was original. Okay, just Beverly Hills Cop was written. I'm talking the first one was for Stallone, and he once he got involved, he wanted to write it as a serious movie,
even though it was already written as a comedy.
And
he laughed with his ideas, and
then he made his own comedy, and it was called Cobra.
That didn't do well. I mean, it didn't do as well because it's a good movie, but
was it McTiernan?
Who did what?
Who did it? Did the second one?
No. Oh crap! I remember his name too, and I just lost it. Give me a second. But the thing is that you got to learn to know the balance for what type of story you're doing and what your audience is going to want to watch. But apparently, from what I was watching, he talked about the fact that they were originally going to have a TV show instead of a movie for the second movie. And the only reason why it didn't happen was because Eddie Murphy didn't want to be on a TV show. He was working his way to being a film star instead of a TV star because he
already had a show. He just left one.
Yeah. Let me see. Director was Tony Scott. Of course, he's done tons of great movies. Tons. And what's funny is he is Ridley Scott's brother. So you can look at the parallels between how one director tells a story versus the other. A lot of Ridley Scott stuff is great, but towards the end, it's just been this like you said, his journey of life after death and blah blah blah, and it's like, okay, that's fine.
He's a big picture guy. His films are sweeping and panoramic.
Correct. They're world building. They're literally like you're supposed to see the awe of everything. Like when he built the soundstage for Legend, how amazing that movie is. You feel like you're there. It's like it's real. Like they went to some place in England where they captured some of these scenes, but the whole thing was done on a soundstage.
It was on soundstage, yeah.
And I just remember watching the documentary about how the fact that when they had all the pigeons and everything and the doves, and they literally got stuck in they couldn't get them out of the soundstage. So you just would see random birds in certain areas, and they were like, "Oh, we got to get this out of here." And when they would find them, but
Can you imagine you're in the middle of a scene on some alien world or some beautiful shoreline, and your actors are like in this intimate love scene, and all of a sudden a bird dropping
just
falls on one of their shoulders,
yeah.
just goes.
But it's funny how people's tastes have changed, but it's like we're almost being, and for a lack of a better word, groomed to accept what's being put in front of us versus like us questioning it. So it's harder for us who watch movies from before like 2000, 15 on.
Before the dark times.
Yeah, we know, yeah, before the Empire, and go ahead, Ed.
I was just going to say that that's the whole idea of a evolving baseline, is that eventually what was accepted and understood at the beginning is no longer the norm. That's what re-education, that's what indoctrination is in school, is if you can raise a generation to not know any better, they accept it, and then they're easier to control and they'll believe whatever you tell them. But if they're taught to learn to question things and ask why, and to research it themselves, and given the opportunity to find answers for themselves, you're a better, well-rounded person, and we have a better society.
But the
And
funny
right
thing,
now, sorry, go ahead, David.
no, I was going to say the funny thing about that right now, at least when it comes to entertainment, is even with that subtle programming, I guess, is what we're kind of going with talking about, right? Even with that, you're starting to see that the populace as a whole, right? If you write, especially with entertainment, if it's bad and if it's consistently bad enough, people wake up from it, right? It's not like everybody's just running out and consuming whatever the new
Yeah.
Disney, Star Wars, Marvel thing is. Like it's the cracks, real cracks are starting to show in a lot of this
A
stuff.
lot of people are being more vocal about it because usually it was the minority that was the vocal ones that were getting the say, and that's why things changed the way they did. You think about how Disney has changed to the point where, like Dad said previously in another podcast, is that they became a princess, making company. So everything was
Originally, they were they
less
were they
about
were a
princess.
company. Walt wanted a place where boys and girls could come and find their heroes and find adventure, and both were equal on the equal playing field. But at some point, Disney became a princess studio, and boys got pushed off to the side. And there was such a vacuum for that in society that, of course, they got powerful. You know, I mean, think about it. There were, even like in an ensemble cast, like on Star Trek, we had a very strong uh, Michelle Nichols. She was just this beautiful, strong-willed, intelligent woman, right? But she was one of the last figures to be made, and we had a period of time where science fiction and toys and all these other things were dominated by males.
Mm-hmm.
And so you had these companies going, oh, we can't make a female, it'll never sell. And then they would do that one awkward female character that was not well designed, or it kind of looked off, and they go, and then it doesn't sell. And all of a sudden they're like,
See, I
see,
told you,
what did we tell you? It
but
was
they
a
made it,
self.
but they made it a chase figure. It was like
That it,
one in every 14 figures was this one female figure. So everybody was looking for the figure. So it was like the what we do now for building hype for demand for products was them like, we know this is going to sit on the shelf. It's going to be a shelf warmer. So we're only going to put one of these in a case versus like maybe two or three, you know? And it's
But what they weren't paying attention to was like the girls aisle, the girls section in toy store. They were, buying just as much stuff as the boys were. If you think about Monster High and how that spread through, and there's just been series after series that make a ton of money. But they never could figure out how to make the two join together. So girls were here and the boys were here, and you chose which market you wanted to focus on. And
Well, that's why they bought up Marvel and Star Wars, right? Because they wanted to get back into the boys. And so, hey, here's Marvel and Star Wars, which are very still boys brands, and they went out and got those. And then now, over time, they've turned those into girl brands because
brands,
it's
yeah.
just in their DNA at this point. It's like, again, it's like, okay, you want to insert a little bit more feminine energy into it. Okay, like that, cool, that's fine, whatever. But doing it by having Luke just die from force exhaustion or whatever is stupid. Like doing crap like that, where again you're trying to build up these new characters, these new, like, a more diversified cast, but in order to do that, you feel like you need to undercut what came before. That's the stupid part, and that's what's screwing you up, because it's like, okay, these characters, they're not powerful and interesting and intriguing on their own. They're these empty little vessels that are just meant for people to want to go buy a toy for. But if it's not if it's not interesting enough, then why the hell is anybody going to go bother with
That's
it?
what, right.
That's what
And
they
then think,
that's what they just can't get into their brains. It's like, guys, just you have to tell a good story with a good character, and then people will care. But if you can't get that first starting point right, and you just say, well, here's a girl, and she's great, and we're just going to tell you she's great, and that's it. It's like, okay, I mean, that's cool, but like, she needs to do something great, and she needs to have people around her that are also doing great things, and then she's doing even better than them, and that way it's impressive.
it's funny. You can have a woman mentor a man, a young boy or a young man, but you can't have a man mentoring a woman now. You can have a woman beating up on a man villain. You can have a woman beating up on another woman villain, but you cannot have a man hero beat up on a woman villain. There's just there's no logic to any of that.
Well,
It is weird.
think about it in real world application. You can't go, oh, well, what about this ideology? Well, this person's a villain. They're destroying like solar systems of people. I mean, oh, just because she's a girl doesn't mean that. I can't go stop her because it's the unethical thing to do when she's
My mama,
genocide
my
people.
mama told me not to hit women. It's like, well, that woman just like dusted an entire planet.
Yeah.
So we're not just gonna go hit her. We're gonna go blow up the ship she's in and make sure she's in it when it goes.
Yeah.
I want to tell you a story. When I was in junior high, there was a girl who had a very big boyfriend. He was huge. She decided that I was going to be her pet project. So she picked on me. She'd knock my books down. She'd walk up to me and go, put your hand in the locker. And I go, why? She put your hand in the locker. And how the hell with you? You're going to slam the locker door in it. She goes, you do it or him. And they're all like behind me and like this. And
how did you?
they know they did it. They beat the crap out of me. They slammed my arm in the locker. And I had two friends that were in my class, and one was a Hispanic girl, and the other one was this. She's kind of like Asian, but you could tell she was also Caucasian mix. And they became my friends, and they were like, "Why do you put up with that shit? Why don't you just hit her?" And I'm like, "Because you don't hit a woman. Because that's not a woman, and you should just kick her ass." And so one day I was walking down the hall, and one of the guys flipped my books up, and she started laughing, and she was like, pick him up, do as I say. And him and there was three guys, and they were all like, yeah, come on, dude, pick it up. And she was standing over me, and she goes, I see it in your eyes. You want to hit me. Come on, hit me. I dare you to hit me. And I was like, my dad taught me you don't hit a female. And then Catherine Tijerina was her name, was standing, walking. She come out of the office, saw what was the classroom, saw what was happening, walks up. She goes, "My mama told me to kick a bitch's ass," and I just saw her just solid punch right in her face, laid her on her butt, and her nose started bleeding, and she was like in shock, and she started crying. Oh, and then the guys were all like, "Oh, baby, what's going on there?" And she was like, "Come on, you want to take me on? Come on, I'll kick all of those butts." And I'm so because one of the coaches come into the hallway like, "Oh, break this up," and they helped me pick up my books and everything. And I remember we went back in, we sat in the class, and she goes, "Stick with me, and I'll teach you how to be a man." I think about that all the time. It kind of fits to me in what we're discussing. But, if a woman isn't acting like a woman and she comes up and punches you in the face like a man, then, you know, punch her in the face like a man back. There was what was it?
That's equality.
It was a,
It is. It is equality.
it was a feminist there was a feminist cartoon where a woman was like challenging somebody, and I can do anything that you can do. I can do, there ain't a thing that a man can do that I can't do. Come on, I'll challenge you to do something that I can't do. And then guy knocks her out. I mean, hits her so hard she's laying on the ground, and he walks off. I was like, yeah, really. But I would never do that, and I would not suggest you do that. But what I guess I'm saying is that if they're not, if they can't treat you with dignity and correctly, then you should not treat them with the same respect. Don't let somebody belittle you because they feel they have some form of power over you. Stand up for yourself. You know, and that's one of that's something that's wrong with what we're teaching our kids today. Boys are supposed to cow down to bullies and women, and we're teaching our kids to be, I don't want to say wusses, but we got all these young men in the world who are crying and whining because they can't get a girlfriend. Well, you know what? Be a man. Go up and ask them to dance. Go ask them to a movie. You can't do it when you're afraid to even talk to one of them.
Mhm. Well, that's the whole point of growing and learning is, you know, you don't, you can't ever progress unless you step out of the comfort zone you're in that holds you back. I mean, a lot of us will sit there and not do something, not take a job, not uh, go talk to a girl, you know, start drawing, learning how to do something. They use a crutch to prevent them from doing something to achieve something new.
Well, you'll never accomplish anything if you never start. Every journey begins with a step. You gotta try it. Don't be afraid to fail because you learn by failing. You know,
Well, even if you fall, you just dust yourself off, pick yourself up, and continue to move forward. I
I
love
think
like that video that Denzel Washington said, like, fall forward, so you're at least moving in the direction you were instead of falling backwards. And, could you imagine if you're on a ledge and you just fall backwards and, oh, well, I guess there's nothing I can do now. I'm just rolling down to my death. Or you can just, fall forward and be lucky enough to be able to hold on to something to pull yourself out of the hole you're in.
well, that's all. It's all about holding on. It's all about continuing your forward momentum because if you let it go, you stop.
Mm-hmm.
I was at it was a team building exercise at Camp Olympia, and I was doing the rock climbing wall, and only one of us had made it to the top. And everybody's like, "Man, shooter, you're not going to be able to do this. You're out of shape." And I got all the way up within a hand reach of him, and he was leaning over the edge, and he was like, we're on a belay line, so I wasn't afraid of falling. And he was like, "Come on, reach." And it was starting to rain, and it had gotten really cold, and I was shivering up there, and I had one hand hold, and I had to kind of jump to grab the other, and then I could reach up and grab his hand. And I was sitting there, and he was like, "Look at me and come on, look at me, come on." And then I guess in my face he saw, because I gave up. There was a moment when
No.
instead of pushing forward, I was like, I just want to go back down. And I said, oh, I said on belay. And she goes, okay. And then she braces me, and then I just slid down. And he was like, you were there. After a while, and everybody's like, good job, man. You almost made it. Almost. Almost is not making it. And then when we were walking back to the conference rooms, we were going to have some more meetings. And I was cold, I was miserable. And he comes up and puts his arm around. He goes, "You almost did it. You almost did it. Remember that. You gave up. That was all you. You can't blame it on the cold. You can't blame it on your being tired, your fingers hurting. You gave up." And that lesson stuck with me, through most of my life. It's not, it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down, it's the fact that you get back up.
Number
Don't,
of times you keep getting back up.
yeah, and to much to the chagrin of my dad, when we would fight and he'd knock me on the ground and beg me not to get back up, my dumb ass got back up. And he was like, "You're a stubborn fool." And I was like, I have to be, because if I'm going to make it in this world, I've got to be able to succeed. I have to be able to push myself beyond my own limits that I've set upon myself. And that was the thing about Luke. Luke set no limits upon himself. He didn't even think something was impossible after his lessons on Dagobah. When you expect the impossible, you can't lift that, judge me to my size. That lesson was about setting limitations on yourself instead of embracing and following through. There was a lot of good moral things taught in the Star Wars movies. Tell me what it teaches now. What are the lessons or anything that a young person can take from Star Wars now?
That crashing into your friends is how you save them.
Crashing, and that space horses will always rule the day.
No, never forget that. What was it? No, come on, you never. Oh, come on, damn it, I lost it. My brain couldn't put it together.
It was something David said, right? You can never have it.
It's the whole. You never expect the Spanish Inquisition, but it's like never rule out space horses, because of course, if there's going to be a thing of Star Wars, there's going to be space horses that can breathe in space, that allow you who are in space to breathe non-existing oxygen. But I guess
I gotta cut you off there. I think it was the oxygen envelope around the ship that was allowing it to happen.
I don't know, because you got to think about it. The gravity could have not been. I mean, the horse salute could have just kicked the Star Destroyer just right, and they would have floated off into space.
Well, I mean, think about it. When you're watching Star Wars and a TIE fighter gets hit and it's flying towards the bridge and it's got fire coming off of it.
Well, it's the oxygen tanks.
Can fire burn in space?
No, but the oxygen that's being bleed out can burn until it
wouldn't it ignite and explode the minute the flame hit it?
Could, depending on the material they used for those tanks.
See, my point is, you can't pick and choose the reality.
No, but there is enough physics and things that we understand pre-Disney Star Wars that worked for what.
Yeah, there's no gravity bombs don't work in.
Correct. And the sequel trilogy, gravity bombs do not work in space. There's no way.
Hey, the planet was that direction. Okay, so there was gravity.
Yeah. I'm just surprised. I'm surprised. Why did one of the bombs not drop, but float up and ignite in the ship?
Instead of going down to hit the ship, they would have went in the direction of the gravity. And
there's
they would have went left instead of down, or right, whatever. It's like dropping Nerf bullets into a tub full of water. You can't expect them just to go down at the bottom of the tub. They're gonna kind of float on the surface and just spread out. I mean,
everybody knows that the best way because all space warfare is naval warfare, right? Like that's what it is.
Yeah.
Everybody
Yes.
knows
Missiles and,
that the best way to bomb like large boats was to take giant heavy ships that very slowly flew towards the boat and were able to get over on top of it and drop the bombs on it that way. Everybody knows that was the best way. Speedy little fighters that would drop bombs and pepper them with bombs. Like, no, that's not the way to go. You need a big, heavy, slow moving target to go in there, and
wait,
that's
wait,
that's
wait,
what
wait,
you.
wait. So hold on, but like Japan had it right back in the day with World War II and Pearl
Did
Harbor.
they win?
They just kamikaze. That's what you
No,
do. You just
did they
strap
win?
your
Well, I
ship
mean,
with.
they had zeros that dropped small bombs, and then they had the torpedo planes, zeros, which would drop a torpedo close to the ship so that they wouldn't have enough time to avoid the torpedo hitting into them, and they still
Well,
missed some.
Yeah, but they still like
wait,
would kamikaze into.
Well,
well, yeah.
if you have nothing else, if you're
Wait,
already gonna die,
wait, wait.
if you
No. Look, guys, y'all are talking about the strategies used by the losing team. Okay,
yes,
clearly,
yeah,
clearly, their strategy didn't work. The strategy that needed to work was giant, slow-moving bombers. That's what they
No,
and
no. I'm
Star
sorry.
Wars
yeah, it's the equivalent
Just
of a
don't
giant
do that.
steamroller that's moving at you at like
Hey,
20
no.
millinches a
They
second,
just needed to design mecha. Then we could have had steam-powered giant kaiju-sized robots attacking Pearl Harbor, and there we go. We're gonna go fantastical. Let's just go full throttle.
there is actually a really cool book series. It's called the Grim Noir series. And the whole concept of it is that there is an alien entity. Like, technically, the majority of the population isn't aware of this, but there's an alien entity that shows up to Earth that gifts portions of mankind these crazy powers, right? Like, so, like, some people have super strength, some people can teleport, some people are insanely brilliant. And this all happens in like the early 1900s. And so the writer redid kind of history. So like Nikolai Tesla and his peace rays, he actually builds them. So he actually has giant death rays like on the coast of the US to
yeah,
keep,
threatening, yeah.
to keep the peace, right? Like Nick Tesla's peace rays. So it's a really awesome little series, and there's actually the writer for it. I don't think it's a short story. I think it's just an audiobook. But one of the more interesting characters of the book series is a guy who can manipulate gravity. And most of the guys that manipulate gravity are a bunch of big lunkheads because they just use it to like hold people in place and then they just beat the crap out of them, right? But this guy was smart and he's like, well, I can make things heavy, but I can also make things light, and
Light, yeah.
I can change the angle and direction that gravity comes from to throw them off balance. And he was really, really smart and he figured out all this stuff. And the guy, again, I think it's an audiobook. I can't remember the name of it, but he did one where that guy's son can also manipulate gravity, and he gets taken by the US military because it turns out that like the Japanese accidentally summoned a demon, but it was this humongous demon, right? Like Godzilla sized demon. And the US government had created a mech that had all these crazy powers, but it was all powered from all of these individuals. So like it could shoot ice, but the way it was able to do that was because there was about 50 like icemen in the that were inside of it that were using their ice powers all at once to use it. And the only way they could control the mech was the gravity manipulation of the one character. They hooked him up to some machine that enhanced his powers, and that's how he was able to move around and fight this Godzilla demon with this giant stupid mech thing. It's a lot of fun. It's really great. There's only 3 books to the book series. I think the author is supposed to be working on some more, but they're a lot of fun. They're awesome. They're good stuff.
Give me a second, guys. Let me run to the restroom, and then we can wrap this up.
No
It's
problem.
almost 11.
Yes. And I'm running, like I said this morning, I'm running on like 3.5 hours of sleep because I was an idiot.
Bro. exhausted.
Now I've got 1027. I guess it's almost 11 in 30
Yeah,
minutes.
yeah.
That's
I mean,
like that, you know, it's like 2.99 is closer to $3 than it is to $2. But in American consumers' head, they see something that's 2.99, they round down to the lowest dollar.
that's right. It's $2. That's
It's two
all.
dollars.
Yeah, yeah. What are you talking about? And hey, whenever they could get this one thing for $5, but if they spend $50, they get free shipping, and free shipping was $10 to start with. You know, it's like, no, I'm gonna go spend that other $50 so I'm gonna spend $45 so I can get free shipping on this item that would have only cost me, I'm sorry, would have only cost me $5 to begin with. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Look, we're saving money. We promise. We know what we're doing. No problems.
Yeah, but I got the opposite of that. Man, if you ever buy something on eBay and it's like, that's only $20. Then when you go to order it, the shipping is 35. So they're actually charging you $50, $55, and you know that they're going to go down and get the cheapest shipping cost that they can find, which might be $5.99 to $10, and they're going to pocket the rest of the money.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
get it, you can keep it.
Yeah. It's been a minute since I bought anything from eBay. I've been trying to stay away. I got into my up to my eyeballs in hunting down various board game crap I didn't own yet. Like there was a lot of the Zombicide expansions that I hadn't gotten around to. And the last one they did before they went to all their second edition stuff was called the Rue Morgue. And for the life of me, I could not find that damn set forever. And I've been going through Amazon and a bunch of other places to get like the mall and oh God, what was it? The mall, the prison, and all the others. But that morgue one was the one I could never find, and that's what I finally went to eBay and bought that damn thing just so I could
So,
have all of it.
you're going to be up here in October. Do you know what time frame?
I'd have to double check with the wife. I do not recall.
Because if y'all are coming up for the Halloween thing at the amusement parks, remember, Madness up here does a 2-for-1 sale
Oh man, I can't
at
wait for that.
at Halloween on
Can't wait
Halloween,
for that.
and you can go buy 2 games and get a full game for free. You know,
Yeah, board games, comics, graphic novels, toys,
statues, everything.
statues.
So,
Um, so Dad, to comment on your question about the whole 299 thing and all that stuff, but you know as much as everyone else knows that it can be 10:30 and you'll blink and it's 11 or 12 or 3 in the morning and then you're like,
oh
oh.
no, I know. I was just joking.
um,
So before you let us go, did you want to make a comment real quick on the whole thing we were talking about, crowdfunding?
oh yeah,
Or
yeah.
you want to
Well,
save
I did.
that for
I did.
something else?
No, we can talk about that real quick. I mean, we got still got 30 minutes. I mean, or so or whatever. But anyway, depending on how much we want to cut this out. So, but I did want to talk about the fact that, like, how for one, Charles Martinet is stepping down and retiring from doing the voice of Mario and his friends. Luigi and Wario and Waluigi, with other characters, of course. But he's been an icon for since at least Mario 64. I think was one of the first his first.
That was the first.
Yeah. So I mean, it's it's okay. I mean, you think about it too. It makes you wonder why they chose, Chris Pratt to do the voice of Mario. Could you imagine, like, maybe Charles doesn't want to have to do the voice of Mario through a whole 2 hour movie?
Well, he did the dad, so I
Right,
mean,
right, but he wasn't there the whole time.
no.
Um, so, and I thought Chris did a pretty good job of Mario. Especially since this is as far as I know, going forward, going to be the face of what Mario is going to look like in the new games. I think Mario Wonder is going to has kind of that same style. He looks different than how he's looked in previous games. So, but
I mean, well, how many years can you go? Hey, it's me, I'm Mario. I mean, they really did have to update him, just like that. The what's his name, the comedian dude from Everything Sunny in Philadelphia, who did Luigi.
Charles Day.
Yeah, I mean, he is perfect.
Oh, he's perfect.
Where Luigi actually kind of had a deeper voice.
We've had different versions of people play Mario, so it's kind of shocking to see such a big icon leave. But he's what going to be he's in his 70s, isn't he? I think.
Well, and also what probably makes it a lot easier is the fact that now he's going to be an ambassador, right? So they're just paying him to go around to conventions and go, "It's a me, Mario," and then sign a bunch of autographs, right? Like that's the good, that's the fun part.
$25 to $175 a pop. Man, it's a good gig if you can get it.
Yeah, and he's got it. I mean, power to him, right?
You think about we lost David Hayter doing the voice of Solid Snake, in Phantom Pain.
We had Clancy Brown come back for Ahsoka to play the character he played in Rebels. That was awesome.
Yes, but Clancy Brown could have played Unicron in Rise of the
Yes, yes.
Call back to the previous episode, people.
Yeah, he should have played Unicron.
79. So, but the
you know what? Somebody should go and dub over Unicron's voice with somebody who sounds like Mario. That would just make that movie so much better.
Hey, thought we did like that movie, but it would have been hilarious to have just some outtakes of other people doing the voices of other characters
of the character, or
with the lines of Unicron.
Can you imagine Arnold Schwarzenegger playing Mario, and Danny DeVito play Luigi? That would have been awesome.
Hilarious.
But don't touch Donkey Kong. He was perfect.
Hey Mario. Oh, sorry. He sounds like a go-kart that's about to die.
He sounds like a lawnmower you're trying to pull this thing and start it.
Yeah.
Like an Italian. You know how you can tell when you have an Italian car? When you go to start it and it doesn't want to start, it goes, hey, 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 hey. Sorry, Robert.
Old jokes there.
Old joke, Robert.
But yeah, it's definitely a change to see someone who's been so prominent for one character like that for years, kind of leaving it. I mean, it's just like isn't Peter Cullen leaving the voicing of Optimus Prime?
Yes, yeah.
So I think he said he'll do a couple more things, but he's done after that.
Well, and I mean, not everybody can be the voice of Batman and do it right up until your passing.
Right. And we miss you, Kevin.
Yes.
The
King Conroy.
But in a different note, I wanted to talk about this, and we may talk about this more in depth in the live episode, but I do feel that there's a problem right now with crowdfunding projects. Regardless if it be you pre-order it, we'll make it, and then you'll get it in like a year, or you put money down to the project, and once we hit a certain goal, it'll be funded, and it will give you stretch goals. Or you could be the whole Mattel thing with the Jurassic Park doors and give people a goat and Lex, I think it was, as your final tier for the project. And I think the cost of it was like ridiculous. But then you have Super 7 with the Thundercats layer, which has some really good tiers for reaching certain stretch goals. But it's still like freaking $650. That's a chunk of change to put down on something. I mean, as detailed as it is, it's pretty awesome, but I don't have the money for that.
Well, I mean, it's so big you could move in there and live in it.
Well, true, yeah. You could just buy all of them and put them together, and you'll just have this like crowdfunded house. Or I don't know. What else?
What drives me crazy about it is you're having a billion-dollar or $1 million company who says to you, we need you to help us create this R&D, and if you do, we're going to give you a little something for it. But then we're going to turn around and own that property, and we're going to sell it to other people, for an arm and a leg. It's the same thing that goes on with our pharmaceutical company. Our government subsidizes pharmaceutical and R&D research for medical stuff all the time. And when it's perfected and it's ready to go, our government doesn't own a percentage of it. It doesn't share in the profits. It turns over the full rights to the company, who then turns around and charges us out the ass for it. When it's our tax dollars who helped them create it in the first place.
Well,
it's like a billionaire going on television and saying, I need you to send money to help me stay out of jail. There's some just ridiculous.
Well, but on the same time, you have. I just want to get this out there because we just had last month the Dragonfly get funded. That thing was 270, and if you included the shipping, it came to 316 or something like that. Then immediately after that, Hasbro announced the Ghost.
The Ghost, yeah.
And that is $500. And the tiers are great, but it's like I can't just go from dropping $300 to now dropping another $500. Then on top of that, we have the 3-week window for NECA with the living room sewer set, just the living room part of it, for $299. So it's going to be like, I think, $360 with the shipping and taxes.
Yeah, well, that's what plastic is for, right? That's what they feel,
But like, that's not even like a crowdfunded thing where like, if you do this and we get to this certain amount, you'll get something extra, which makes it worth its while, because you're going to get limited things beyond the manufacturing of the product. With the Ghost, you're getting the Phantom, you're getting Chopper. On the Phantom, you're getting Hera, you're getting Kanan, you're getting Sabine and Ezra, and I think you're getting Zeb. I don't know, but these figures with the art that's supposed to represent the that mural that was at the end of Rebels. So that's really cool. It's a very collector thing. It's very niche. But for the turtle thing, all it has the ability to do is attach to that street set that you had, and then you have some furniture and a TV. So you can have your turtles. But then eventually you'll have 2 other parts that go to it to make the kitchen and Donnie's lab. But
then there's a street level part to the top too.
Right,
that they had at
even that
San Diego Con.
$115. You can literally go to Big Bad Toy Store, get that for $115. It's the same width and taller than the sewer set. So why is the sewer set so much compared to the re-release street set? So there's that. Then you have like limited run with the Castlevania Advance collection. That's going to run about 2 something after taxes. You have Tekken 8 just drop all the information of it being released on January 26th, I think, or 26th, I believe. And there's the Ultimate collection thing for that physical that you can only do on their site, Bandai Namco, that has a really awesome Jin statue, some other really cool stuff. That's $300. But the only good thing about that is you can pre-order now, but they won't charge you until it ships in January. So you have
unless it comes out early, right, and you've spent all this other money, and then it hits your account, and you're either overdrawn or you don't get it.
Correct. And that's the thing but it still gives you the time to save your money. You're getting these windows of time with these Kickstarters of like, even like with Kickstarter, usually you get like 30 days, maybe 2 months, sometimes depending on the projects.
A lot of the board games now, you don't even get that. Like, I know that Come On, right? Cool Minis, right? a lot of their Kickstarters when they come out, it's not even 30 days. It's like 15 or 20. I mean, it's like they're that window of time that you have to get in there and get it has been extremely compressed. And then on top of that, like they're putting out a Kickstarter, it feels like every quarter. Like every quarter, it almost feels like it's like here's another one, here's another one, here's another one, here's another one. It's like I barely got the Wild West Zombicide and all this. I mean, I haven't even got Marvel Zombies yet, and the White Death came out, right? It's like so that one comes out, and it's like that one. I'm pretty sure before that one ships, there'll be something else that rolls out there. It's just like it's just
Yeah.
they,
So
At what point? At what point did they have to put up some of their own money for their risk?
well, it's
You
not
know,
just that
what,
though. It's you're increasing this, for one, the FOMO, fear of missing out, but you're also creating this whole thing where it's unsustainable because every month you're going to have this HasLab, you're going to have a Motu thing, you're going to have a something with Mattel doing something, you're going to Super Seven, you're going to have all these things every month, and it's like, how do you keep up with this? You're going to have too much.
you don't. You cannot. You
You
can
can't
unless you're wealthy. You can't. So you're gonna have to pick and choose
what you
those
want.
items that you want that you okay. I can't go without, and you can't go. Well, I can't live without all of it. Well, then you need to
Yeah, you
save
need,
your
you need
money
help. Yeah,
and go to a psychiatrist.
help.
Um,
Or you just need to win the
but
lottery.
no, my biggest argument with it is they don't risk their own money.
Right.
And they do these things, and if they don't meet the goal, then they don't. And then some of these people don't reimburse the people. If they don't make it and don't meet their goal, they have to be sued to pay back the money to the investors.
so it depends on who you go through, right? Because like Kickstarter doesn't charge you until it succeeds, and if it
It
doesn't
succeeds, yeah.
succeed, you never get charged and you're fine. But like other groups, I forget Indiegogo. I don't remember if Indiegogo charges you.
Even would
I
charge
mean,
you.
I've never gone and tried to crowdfund through like any of the toy companies or anything like that because I know they have their own like what Hasbro has like Hasbro Black or whatever it's called, right?
Their site is the Hasbro Pulse, but their
There you go.
crowdfunding project is always HasLab.
There you go. So, do they do the Kickstarter model or do they do the other one where you put money in and it's gone?
Well, what happens is that they have a window of about 45 days, and they need to hit that initial stretch, that initial goal.
Yeah.
Once that's met, until the end of that last day, that's when they
Right.
charge.
Right. But so
Well, like Kickstarter,
your money doesn't go away unless they meet their goal. So if they don't meet their goal,
no. You weren't charged unless you meet the
okay.
goal. And then Kickstarter is the one who gives you 14 to 28 days. They do a limit on how long you can keep your campaign open, and that's because there's so many campaigns. They want other people a chance to be have somebody invest in them. So, and if you had one that was just open ended, it could just keep sucking all the money up.
Mhm.
When we did our comic, we used Kickstarter, and we always had a short window to try to get it done. Well, we always had half the money ourselves to do it. We never wanted, I know people who kickstarted for the whole project, and not us, because it's ours. And
I
if
mean,
we're not going to invest
everybody's
in
got
it,
a different business model, right?
Well, and the thing
Like
is, the go ahead, David. I'll add it
I
out.
was gonna say, so I mean, some of these companies, that's just their business model. Their business model from the very beginning has been, hey, if you really want this, fork up the cash for it and we'll go do it. And that's one way. And then other people have basically the entire thing put together, and it's literally just hey, you're literally just buying this from us. Like it's all done. We just literally need to send it to the printers, and we've already sent some of it already to the printers. So by the time you pay it, right within a couple months, boom, it's coming to you. But that is not the norm. The norm is they're not willing to put forth the effort unless the desire is there, right? Which makes a kind of sense. You might have what you think is the greatest idea in the world, but if you can't get enough people to go in and buy in on it, but that's where you need to have a realization of how much like a good concept of what your project is actually worth and what it's going to take to get it done, right? Like what
done.
is the
Yeah.
threshold for success? Because yeah, if you're trying to get all the money you need for your project, then you definitely need to know that number and have a good number for it, and then just make your peace with whether or not you live and die by the mob, right? But yeah, these other companies that've been doing this and easily have a backing behind them to where, it shouldn't take this long to get this kind of stuff done. Like, I mean, yeah, it just everybody's a little different, and some of them are a bit more assholish than others.
But it breaks the whole. Okay, when you bought something, generally you had it in your hand, you could look at it, you knew the quality it was going to be. Somebody else would have already bought it, and there was word of mouth. And people who were creators had faith in their product, and so they put it out knowing they were going to make their money back on the quality. Now we're just going to make our money for whatever run we're going to make up front, and whether it breaks the minute you take it out of the box or not, um, it's all on you. That's on
There's no
you.
QC time, which there may be because you have a year. You mass produce it. Remember, like with Star Saber, they had multiple prototypes, and as they went through, they talked about it for everyone who backed it. Hey, we came up with this. This is prototype one. We have some issues here. Some of the transformation doesn't work. It's rubbing up against certain plastics, so they had to go back, and they kept doing it. So some of these they do go through the QC process, but having so many like this, like literally back to back, it's like, how are you going to be able to do this in time? Yeah, the
Well,
Dragonfly had like a 6 to 7 figure. I mean, it was like almost $7 million they made just from the 24,000 products they sold.
well, and if you think about it, like companies like NECA, I love NECA, but their product is sometimes inferior. You don't know that until you get it and you take it out of the box and you try to put it in a simple pose that they even advertised it could do, and all of a sudden the arm falls off or something else breaks off,
Yeah,
and then you got to try to get your money back on it, or get it replaced. Sometimes they won't replace it, and then it's like pulling teeth to get your money back because it's part of their business model. They know that some of their products are inferior, and it's just
who are you
risk you
calling
take.
inferior? Sorry,
You're just it's the risk you take. But NECA used to have a high quality name to them.
yes, they did.
And
I mean, and then that's the thing is like I don't know if NECA really kind of were able to handle the growth and the demand for their products.
all I know is you should never have to heat up your product to bend a joint.
Oh, you're
I'm
right.
sorry.
You're right. But hey, you don't
And
have to do that here. I can literally just leave it outside my porch for just like maybe 10 minutes, and it's warm enough to be able to mold it around. It may be
it's like
melted, but
it's like buying a car, but before you can drive it, you got to grease everything and make sure all the joints work. And oh, you got to put spark plugs in it. We didn't include spark plugs. The wires we used weren't that good quality. You might want to change that. And, oh, we did not include tires.
yeah, yeah. But it's just one of those things where we're at this point now with products, and like we were saying earlier, and previously, and we've said it on the other podcasts we have, and that is a lot of the times most of the toys are not made for kids, and they're made for a collector in mind. And sadly, a lot of times it's made for people that want to use this product or any of this stuff as a way of having a retirement. It's an
It's a
investment.
revenue stream for them, whether future or present. That's why some of them buy dozens of them, keep one, bust open one, and then sell everything else. And that's how they pay for theirs. I did it. I know, but I never charged an up fee. When I found a bunch of the products, I sold them at the same price that I found them for, maybe with a little bit $5 over, and until I sold made enough money to cover my purchase. You know, um,
Well, see, if you marked them up like everything else, then you'd have more than enough money to be covering all the Kickstarters you want right now. That's where you
Yeah,
messed up.
I know. Yeah, I know. Yay for capitalism.
Yeah, it's just like what back in the day when I got my PS2 first day, and
Well, look,
you
son, for
you wanted
what
me to
that
sell it.
was worth, we could have bought three of them. I'm like, come on now. There, even I would go, oh,
But then I had to
wait
wait.
a minute, wait a minute.
I had to wait.
15,000, 15,000, when it hit $2,000, I was mad at you. I was like, $2,000.
Hey, but I was the cool kid on the block who had a PS2
You
before.
wait, hold on. Let's back up. I guess I haven't heard this story. You spent 2K on
No,
No.
that's what it was going for.
Or when the PS2 launched, there was only so many because of the chip shortage they had, and
what?
I got one because I used to work at Game Crazy. I pre-ordered it there. I was only three people who pre-ordered it. So I was at school. My dad went to go pick it up, and him and Jason were like, "Vince, we need to sell this. You need to think about selling this. It's like it's at
Jason
$2,000."
was like, come here, look at this, and $2,000. One person was wanting 2,000, and it really got up there because it was like 2,500, and at one point, I know somebody was paid 2,700 for. I was like, no, no, they're eventually going to produce enough of them. No, but if there's a sucker out there, like PT Bonham, there's a sucker born every day. We could have sold this for that money, and you could have had one and college money.
True, but then I would have had to wait, and I had already put forth the effort like that a lot of people didn't do, um, and that was the pre-order one in the beginning because when you pre-ordered them back then, Sony knew exactly what to produce that they could at least do, versus like there's a aftermarket of when this releases for people that want to get it or after release date.
I remember we were in the shop and a book came out, and it was a 299 cover, brand new. Just got it from the publisher. I unpacked it, and we had a wall where we drop in the new books, so when people came in, they could see what new books were in. Nina was like, "You need to put a sticker on those." And I was like, "Which one?" She goes, "That one, that one, that one. That one's 50. That one's 30. That one's," and I was like, "It's 299. They just came in." You know, no, that's what they're going for. It's like, and you'd see people walk in and go, "Oh, the new what the," and look at that price and that sticker shock on their face. And Nina would never be around. I was the one who had to face the wrath of the customers. You know, um,
Well, and that's the thing is like for
and
one,
then having to fight to make sure that the people who, like you said,
who had a box
who had a box to
subscription.
subscribe for, they got it at the price which they were quoted. She was wanting, no, 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 it's up. They got to pay the new price. No, that's not how you do business.
If you're going to lose business that way, um, and it's but that was at the height of the speculator market. I mean, we're seeing
And
that.
what do you think we're in now?
Yeah, we're seeing it majorly in toys and video games. Anything hot is going to be instantly speculated on and have a high demand, and people are going to want to grab it and flip it.
Has Silent Hill come down yet?
I want the new Silent Hill remake.
Well, no, I said, has Silent Hill come down yet? Because I know what months ago.
No, it has not come down. It is ridiculous how expensive this game is. When it was a popular game when it came out, and now everybody who didn't play it wants to play it. Dude, this is the thing that drives me crazy. I've been playing games for 42 years of my life. Well, 41 years of my life. Because even what it was like, I was sitting in my dad's lap while he was playing a game.
So he couldn't
I was osmosis
until he was 2.
But I've played a lot of games in my life. And I'm finding out that a lot of the guys that I'm friends with on YouTube have not played certain games, and I'm like, where were you? But
it's like David. I've never seen that movie. What do you mean you've never seen that movie?
Hey, no. I've talked about this. I was kept from a lot of stuff. Again, I've explained it before. I didn't get to watch the Mario Brothers movie when it came out because it was PG-13 and I was not 13 yet. So I got shielded from a lot of stuff to the point where, again, this is why when y'all get talking about movies, I don't care about spoilers because I would go to my friends on the school bus. I distinctly remember them talking about like Gladiator, and I would like move up to the person who was talking about it and be like, "Uh-huh, yeah, all right.
All right, tell me what happened.
What happened next?" And he's like, "No, man, I can't tell you that. I
Who's
don't
the
want to
love
spoil it."
interest?
But no, you don't
I'm
understand.
never gonna get to see it.
I don't know when or if or ever I'm going to get to see this movie. So I just tell me all of it. And so I just have gotten that built in me now. So yeah, there's a ton of stuff out there that
Well,
I might be aware of, but I haven't necessarily seen.
Well, I'm gonna tell you right now, you didn't miss anything. We went and saw that movie in the theater,
Mario
and
Brothers.
both
Mario Brothers.
both me and my son walked out of there going, just looking at each other and shaking our head. And I was like, so it's a dinosaur movie.
The highlight of the movie was the end credits when it played the Mario theme, and that's what
Yeah.
I turned to my dad. Hey, at least have the Mario theme.
That you know what? When it came to the new Mario Brothers movie, that was probably the wildest thing I saw was a review that argued that the old 90s Mario Brothers movie was better because of the risks it took and the more like the instead of the paint by numbers kind of thing that the new one did, that they actually went out there and took a risk and really went on a limb to tell a really different story for Mario. It's like, okay then, I that's a hell of a take, my guy. Like
Right, with Bob Hopkins and
I
drunk the
hey,
whole time.
I loved him. Okay, my science project. Come on, you
Oh,
know,
Dennis Hopper.
Dennis Hopper. I'm sorry, he was Bowser.
Yeah,
Bob Hopkins, John Leguizamo.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know I can't remember who was the lady who played Peach.
And then the two Goombas. Which one was what's his name? From my science project.
Just to before we completely sign off for Bob Hoskins, this is kind of the weird thing that my brain does, right? It's kind of like the thing where for me westerns are tied to Tom Selleck because of Quigley and how many times I watched that movie growing up. For me, Bob Hoskins, like I know he's Shmi in Hook, but for some reason I don't connect Bob Hoskins to that Shmi, even though he's the best one they've done,
Yeah.
like by far. I don't think of him. I don't think of Bob. Like when I hear the name Bob Hoskins, the role that immediately comes to mind is oh god,
Eddie.
Unchained.
Eddie
Is
Valiant.
it, no,
Oh,
no, no.
wait a minute. Unleashed with
Yes,
Jet Li.
Oh, with Jet Li. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. I thought,
Wow.
and he is he's
That's
Hook
I
perfect.
quote I quote
He's
that
such an
line
awful
all the
person.
time. When you get them while they're young and the possibilities are endless.
Yes,
When he's talking about how yeah,
yeah.
he was such a in that movie, man.
he is
But
horrible in that movie. He's a bad person in that movie, but for whatever reason, just Bob Hoskins is cemented in my head as the extremely evil guy, chaining up Jet Li in his basement and using him to fight
yeah,
people until he gets freed by a blind Morgan Freeman. Or
didn't
no,
he even call him Dog? Wasn't that his name? I'm trying
something like that.
to.
Yeah,
He had a name for Jet Li. Wouldn't let him be
It's so
called
long since
like
I've seen that movie.
a person.
it's been forever. But yeah, that's a great movie. I love
Yep,
that
and
movie.
see how David brought us all the way back around to Jet Li and martial arts again.
Martial arts. Yeah. This
Yep.
is how we do. It's serendipitous or whatever. Just
I'll do my best. Y'all are welcome.
yeah. So everyone, we hope you enjoyed this episode. Let us know like what you've been watching, maybe what you've been playing. Actually, before I actually exit this, um, I understand that like people have different experiences than anything that's going on. So like where I come off in the fact that I said that like I've played a lot of games and I'm very surprised when I hear people haven't played stuff. Um, and I'm like, where were you, at the time? Because like some of this stuff was like really hyped and important. But I realized that some people were younger, some people may not have had access to certain consoles. and it's just something that I have to accept, you know. Because
how gracious of you.
Yeah, tell me about it. But I just don't want to be like, man, Vince is a dick. And,
Yeah. It's like I'm sorry you were so underprivileged. I understand that not everybody could have had all the wonderful things that I had as a child, and I truly do feel bad for you. Not really, but
yeah. Look, man, look, I really appreciate you like coming up and checking your privilege, you know, your video game privilege on this podcast. It's really appreciated. Yeah, definitely. Like,
I needed that laugh.
It's funny because like me and Mazen and one of the other guys, Jose and another buddy of ours, Rob, we're joking about some stuff, and I was like, yeah, I'm not an asshole, but like some people
play one on television.
Some people think I am, and Maz is like, "What do you mean? You're like the nicest guy." I know, but you know, whatever. Anyway, but yeah, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this episode. We will be back next week, but it'll be covering the experience of going to Evo this year. So that episode will have Di, my buddy Adrian, and my buddy Gabriel. And then after that, we will be doing most likely the live episode because we were planned to do that this week, but we had some issues, and then Colin couldn't make it. He's dealing with some stuff. So after that, we'll be back on our regular scheduled program. So until then, have a great one, everyone. Peace out.
Bye, everybody.